Hello friends, and welcome to episode 1 of Books and Baking. Now today we are making my famous banana bread and we are talking about romance books, and this is romance books just in general, really. Okay, so I have my ingredients for my banana bread. You will need some plain flour, brown sugar, butter, baking soda, eggs, vanilla extract, probably some milk. I believe I do use milk in this recipe, and some extremely overripe bananas. You're also going to preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. That is if you have a fan forced oven. Otherwise, I don't know, you can make it up. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is cream the butter and the sugar. So you are going to need half a cup of butter and 1 cup of brown sugar. Now there's a reason I use brown sugar over white sugar, especially in banana bread and cookies, because it has that bit of a caramel type of flavor to it, and it just goes so well in like bread type sweets. So that is what you're gonna do. In terms of romance books, now I only came into the world of reading, I would say would be the time where everyone kind of did, which was kind of like the 2020 period was where reading started to become really popular again. And now that's not to say that I wasn't reading beforehand, but I definitely wasn't reading as much as I do now. To me, that's where my reading journey kind of started. And I started out with Colleen Hoover books, as I think everyone did at that time. And they are mainly romance. So romance was really easy for me to get started in, as I think everyone kind of thought the same thing, where you can always see who's going to be with who at the end of the day, and there's going to be a little bit of drama mixed in there, but I lap it up every single time. Always like, yep, they're going to fall in love. I know what's going to happen, and it's going to be great. Because I love when romance books are the easy reads. Romance books are something that I don't have to pay a lot of attention to. They are filler books in my mind, where they are books that I kind of read. Once I finish reading like a fantasy book or a really long book, I want to go to a romance book because I feel like it switches off my brain a little more and I'm able to fall into this world of all things joyful and lovey-dovey. So with an electric beater, you are going to whisk the butter and the sugar together just till it's all combined and kind of like that wet, sandy kind of look. And I won't talk while I do this. Pretty much what we're going for. Now we need a teaspoon of vanilla and 2 eggs. So with my vanilla, I always do like a capful, and to me that's like a teaspoon. You know, like I feel like you can't get enough of vanilla, so it's fine if you go over it. So I quickly realized that romance had so many different tropes, and I didn't realize this at first until I kept reading them. I'm like, oh wow, these are all really different, and yet they all the same. And that is where I fell head over heels for enemies to lovers. Now, why I kind of love enemies to lovers is because I think it is so real. It's very different to like love at first sight, where that just doesn't really happen in the real world, I don't think. Same with friends to lovers, where it's like people have been friends for a really long time, and sure, you might not think they'd end up together, but at the end of the day, everyone knows they're going to end up together. But give me 2 people that utterly hate each other and then fall in love, that's amazing. I think my love for that also kind of came from Beauty and the Beast, where they don't really like each other, or it's like a grumpy met sunshine type of aspect, where it's like the grumpy guy and the full of love and life girl, and they fall in love. I also love that aspect as well. Okay, so we're going to cream all of that together now with the sugar. Pretty good. Now we're going to fold in the rest of our ingredients So you're gonna need a wooden spoon. Wooden spoon or a spatula will do fine with this. So we're going to need 2 cups of plain flour or like all-purpose flour. Just gonna use the rest of this one off. So that's 1 cup and this is the 2nd cup. But yeah, honestly, I love romance. I started reading a lot more like small town romances as well and fell in love with those because I think those are also really realistic. Second chance romances are great. Now the question is, do I have a favorite romance book? Enemies to lovers? I will tell you now, it is The Things We Left Behind. I absolutely love that book. It was a 5-star and my top read for 2023. I just love that book and I will tell you why. Because it's not just a romance and it's not just an enemies to lovers book. It is so much more than that. It actually follows 2 stories of people. So we have a grumpy writer that is set to, oh, I just realized I hadn't opened that. We're gonna need a teaspoon of baking soda as well. A grumpy writer comes to town because he is wanting to write a romance book, basically. And there is this girl that is wanting to release rights to her grandmother's story about being in the war. So here he is, he comes in and she doesn't trust him. She's like, this guy does not write romance. Like he can't write romance, but I can try and write romance. So she wants to try and write this romance book and rewrite her grandma's story. That is mixed in. We are going to add our bananas and we're also definitely going to have to add some milk in there as well. Now I have 3 ripe bananas. You can use 2 or 3. The more bananas you have, the better the flavor. I'm gonna grab a plate. You can use a fork or you can use an actual like masher. So I've got my actual masher here and you're just gonna mash them and then fold them in to the rest of the mixture. So this girl's like, no, I would help write my grandma's story because I know how it goes because she's been left all of these letters. So she ends up helping this guy and it kind of goes back and forth between the past and the present because it's kind of understanding the grandma's story and how she fell in love with her husband. And it's just such a beautiful story. I really didn't think I would like having a war story in there, but I honestly loved it. I think it added so much to just how love was so different back then and how powerful it was back then as well. Anyway, so as she's writing this book, she kind of starts falling for the writer. And I mean, they hate each other at first, of course, but it's enemies to lovers, you know? So she starts falling for him as she's helping writing this. There's a huge plot twist in this book as well, which I really didn't see coming. And I think that's amazing. If you have a huge plot twist you don't see coming in a romance book, that's incredible. So to me, that's a win. And that has probably stayed my favorite romance book to this day. I've read a few more romance books in 2024, and honestly, just nothing can compare to that book. I'm planning on rereading it this year because it was so good. And I love rereading because sometimes you miss big things that you didn't realize the first time you were reading it. So that would definitely be my favorite romance book. So now we're gonna add all of that mashed banana to our bowl. The sound of that is giving me the ick, honestly. I'm also gonna put a cup of milk in there because this batter is like super sticky. And I mean, the recipe that I kind of got it from and then made my own tweaks does not have milk in it. And it says it's like the most moist banana bread. But I mean, I don't think I really want moist banana bread. I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll add a cup of milk and then give that a stir and then she should be done. Now, when it comes to my favorite romance author, I do have to say it is 100% Emily Henry. I've been reading her books over the years and I love them. They tell a much bigger story than just a romance story. They really get you on a personal and a deeper level than just having two people that fall in love. They are very much like a real life story, and there's so much found family in them, and I think people kind of mature in them as well, which I really like. I think that romance can tend to make characters seem really immature and not know what they really want out of life. And some of these characters in these books are like mid to late 20s or early 30s, and you're kind of like, shouldn't you know what you want in a relationship after like a few relationships? I feel like you should know that. Okay, it is all mixed in. She's a little bit watery, but that is what you want. So I'm gonna put that in our pan. I'm just gonna line it first. If you have any suggestions for enemies to lovers books, I would love to know. And if you have any suggestions of more romance books to read, let me know down in the comments, because I will never not walk to the romance section of libraries or bookstores. Okay, so that is our banana bread done. That's gonna go into the oven for about half an hour, and we'll take it out and see how she looks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you try out this banana bread recipe and it brings you some joy, and then you can sit down with your book, your cup of tea, and a slice of banana bread. This is the very first episode of Books and Baking, so I hope that you enjoyed that. I will be talking a lot more book topics in time to come, and as we bake through the seasons as well, I have many recipes to share with you. I'll see you next time. Bye!